Hi, thank you for joining my passion. 3 years ago, my son couldn't wait to meet us at 26 weeks during my training as a Montessori teacher. The doctor told us that even though they could manage to save his life, but they couldn't guarantee his intellectual development. Since then, I started my journey to explore the beauty and the strength of Montessori way of parenting. After 3 years, here I am. My name is Nanli. I am proud to introduce myself as Montessori mom as well as a Montessori advocate. With a vision to make Montessori accessible to every parent and child, I founded a company to provide Montessori-inspired educational trips for young children and Montessori parenting online courses for Chinese families. I'm really excited to be part of the Discovering the Child conference to share how I discover the surprises of life by following my child. If you are a parent who is struggling with time pressure and resource, I'm sure that after joining me, you will be inspired to turn every moment in your daily life into teachable moment. And most importantly, you will become a resourceful parent. Let's get started with Dr. Maria Montessori's quote. The senses, being the explorers of the world, open the way to knowledge. I would like to add a little bit more like this. The senses, being the explorers of the world, open the way to knowledge, the window to discover the surprises of life and ignite the inner creativity. We know that children explore their world through their senses. They touch, they smell, they observe, they taste, and they hear things around them. And the senses provide the very first learning experiences. And what about us adults? Do we still have the ability to experience our world? Or how do we do that? We all live in a high-speed world. Work and personal life are often rushed and mashed together in a blur of activity. Like most of us, I was always in a hurry to go and get things done. I ate without noticing the taste of the food. I didn't hear the beautiful music even though I was listening to it. I forgot how nice it was like when the breeze of wind touched my skin. I even didn't notice sometimes that my hair actually needed a nice trim. I was totally buried in the high-speed modern life, and slowly, my senses have become dull. I've lost the ability to sense our world until one day, my little one came to our life at his 26-week time. He was such a tiny little human being, but had the biggest impact on our life, especially my life. I was there following him, watching him, touching, smelling, tasting everything he could reach. Slowly, I started to regain the ability to notice the details of our environment and followed with discovering the beauty of our world. Through my son's eyes, I saw the shining diamond-like dewdrops and the spider web after the rain. I still remember the moment I saw that by following my son, I was definitely more excited than him. Because for him, this is the original beauty of the world. He's living it, right? It's normal for him. But for me, it was something like long forgotten. Together with my son, we observed how snails detect scents and orientation by using their antenna. And I also found out that the snails actually have their eyes and the antenna. I was like a child watching attentively with my son for a very long time. While taking a walk, my son would stop every 2 steps. It's normal for every child, right? We saw a bug with human face and back. And we saw a bee covered with a thick layer of pollen. We saw leaves with eyes surrounded on the edge. I started to notice the different pattern and the color of stones, leaves, and even tiny grass. Have you ever tried to compare the tree bark, like a tree bark with a crocodile? Or have you thought about the differences between a noodle and a snake? There was a period before my son was turning 2 years old. Every time we were eating noodle, and he would tell me that, "Mom, this is not a snake, it is noodle." How amazing that the child is just the source of the imagination. By following my son, I learned that pomegranate is not only for eating. It can be used to create a masterpiece of art, like this, or like this. And since he liked to squeeze color from different plants, we didn't really spend much money on buying paint before he turned 2 years old. Okay, now I would like to invite you to do a small exercise together. Okay, so I would like you to close your eyes and imagine that you are holding a ripe banana. Okay, now touching it, smell it, and peel it, taste it. Okay, then open your eyes. Can you recall the touch, the smell, the texture, and the taste of the banana? If yes, that's great. You've been quite mindful. If not, no problem. Starting to follow your child's senses, and you will regain your mindfulness and start to notice the beauty of your surroundings. We've mentioned that following your child. So, how to follow your child? Firstly, try to put aside your cell phone, the stress, and whatever you are carrying from the adult world while spending time with your child. This could be the most challenging thing for us nowadays, right? Especially the current COVID-19 situation. So it takes practice, but the more surprises you find with your child, the easier it will become to be present with your child. Because you will realize that how much you have missed while letting yourself buried in a busy life. Secondly, don't be bothered by the idea that we cannot travel with our children to the fancy beach or the exotic countries. For them, everywhere, every moment is an adventure, even at home. Just learn to include and follow your child in everyday life. What you can do is you can kneel down on the floor with your child, watching the ants or the earthworm while taking a walk in the neighborhood. If your child prefers to watch the workers fixing the road while heading to the playground, be flexible and just let them, because one day you might see this. They are absorbing whatever they see all the time. Or you can stop with your child in front of a tree, follow his eyes, his hands, his ears, and you will definitely notice something amazing. While eating, for instance, the broccoli with your child, eat like him. Touch it, smell it, taste it with consciousness, and talk about it with him. When your child is telling you, "Mom, I'm taller," instead of just saying, "Wow, yes, you are," you can encourage both of your mindfulness by saying, "Yes, you are. How did you know that you are taller?" Their answers will surprise you. I remember that my son said to me, "Because my shoes are running smaller." And another time he was so excited to tell me, "Mom, taller because I could hold the handrail like you do." Yeah. And when we were playing in the garden, he told me that the grass can also grow taller. Is that wonderful? Yes, children are indeed the little observers. They see what we don't, or they notice things that are forgotten by us. But we were once children, right? We once had this capability and the sensitivity. We haven't lost them yet. They are just hiding somewhere. This is probably why we have our children to remind us, to help us, to regain the ability to sense the world again, to learn to see the world through their senses is really, really important and worth trying. So always bear in mind, as Dr. Maria Montessori once said, so many childish activities seem trivial to grown-ups, but a child's concentration is not a trivial thing. Remember that. Okay, so that's my sharing about noticing the beauty of our world by following the child. Now I would like to share with you how did I discover the multifunctional usage of our household objects. As a full-time mom as well as an entrepreneur, I am a caregiver, a cleaner, a cook, a physical coach, a teacher, and a home-based full-time self-employee. That means the most effective way to achieve my roles is including my son into our daily life, which for me is just the highlights of Montessori well parenting. Like most of the mom, I spend quite a big amount of my time in the kitchen. Younger children enjoy exploring their world around us, even in the safe environment at home, for instance. That's quite normal for children. So that's actually a good opportunity to observe how do they interact with their environment. So while I'm cooking, my son's chopping and cleaning the vegetable, peeling the potatoes, or kneading the dough in the kitchen with me. By following and watching my son interacting with different objects, I started to discover the multifunctional usage of household objects. For instance, one day we were making mashed potato together with this potato ricer. Then I observed my son putting a mushroom inside and started to press. Guess what?
你看这个大鲨鱼，大鲨鱼，
Again, I was the one who was so excited to find out there are spots on the mushroom surface. It's like 3D spots. Yeah. So I said to him, wow, how did you make those spots on the mushroom? How did you do that? So the way my son looked at me is like, Mom, this is normal. This is nothing new because that's a tool, the tool, and he could try many things with this tool. But for me, this is a potato ricer, only for potato. But for children, it's different, right? And then he just put everything he could reach inside the potato ricer, like a scientist doing an experiment. That's really amazing. And one day, while he was playing with cornstarch, like usual, he searched tools in the kitchen. Okay, potato ricer again. He did something like this. And another time, he was imagining the potato ricer as a shark or a crocodile. For children, this could be used for anything, right? As far as the imagination can go, just, it's for us, it's hard to imagine, right? But this really inspired me. And like the other day, we were making cherry pie. While waiting for the pie get ready in the oven, and he really had fun with the seeds. So what could we do with seeds for adults? Seeds we can plant. And what else? So he did something like this. Luckily, I knew he might do something else with the seeds, so I didn't throw them in a bin. It surprised me. And the other day we were cutting purple cabbage while cooking, and he said to me, this is just like a sand wave. Even though he has never been to the beach, he could connect the sand wave to the purple cabbage. At the beginning, it was really hard for me to imagine this is just like sand wave. But later on, I tried to think like him and I really see that pattern. When I gave my son a hose, he said to me that he got an elephant trunk.
Oh! Oh no! Oh!
And then he suggests me to draw an elephant horse. And here comes the flashlight. For us, what can we do with flashlight? For lighting, right? Yeah? But for a child, he saw smoke out of the flashlight. That day, I found something new.
多吉，你在做什么？
在吐烟。
吐烟。
So all the children, as long as we provide them freedom to explore, they don't have the fixed impression of the usage of certain things. For them, everything are open-ended toys and the source of imagination. Slowly, by following and observing my son, you know what? My creativity was ignited by him. I started to see the objects around us differently. And also, I have developed the ability to make everything and every moment become teachable opportunities. So here I would like to share some experiences and guidance for parents who are struggling with lacking ideas of doing activities with their children at home. Firstly, think like a child. Secondly, observe the objects through different aspects of senses. Lastly, try out with your child. Don't worry that things may not turn out the way you expected. Your child will always surprise you. Okay, so now let me share with you some activities I did with my child with easy preparation and simple objects at home. As you could see from the activities I did with my son, all the objects we have used like honeydew, straw, hair dryer, candle, paper cup, and wasted coffee powder. Those are really common household objects. But if we really make use of them, children will benefit from them just by exploring. Let's take the honeydew as example. All the activities you see from this single fruit in the video are really the good example of following the child. Before we cut the honeydew, I saw the children were touching the surface and imagine it as a ball. So they were rolling back and forth. So I thought it would be nice to print some pattern on the paper while rolling around, right? So we were talking about the pattern and the feeling of touching the skin. After we cut the honeydew, the children were surprised with the seeds mixed with the juice. They used their hands to take out the seeds and then with the spoon practicing spooning. After cutting it into small pieces, we have implemented counting, which is mathematics, right? And finally, as you see in the video, they had fun exploring the seeds in the water. I just provided them different items like animal figures, and automatically they put them inside the boat-shaped honeydew skin. It is really amazing how different areas were involved in such easy activity like art, motor skill, math, physics, and most importantly, the children were learning through playing. They had fun. So really by including our children into our daily life, by following and watching them, we will start to discover the simple surprises around us. Our daily life, our home environment is just a rich and multisensorial source for the children to gain their sensory experiences, and then they build up their knowledge upon it. I would like to end my sharing with the same quote from Dr. Maria Montessori. The senses, being the explorers of the world, open the way to knowledge. And a bit more from me, the senses, being the explorers of the world, open the window to discover the surprises of our life and ignite the inner creativity. Thank you for joining me.